How are you, my friend? How is your day? I hope you're doing well. I got a quick question for you. Have you ever been to China and climbed the Great Wall? If you've never been to the Great Wall, you should. The sheer magnitude of this wall is going to blow your mind. Really, you should experience the Great Wall in person. Great Wall is one of the human heritage can be seen from the moon. Anyway, why we're talking about the Great Wall today? Because every time I climb the Great Wall, I am always so excited for that first step. Today's video is about your first step, the beginning of your magnificent miles, creating your company name, creating your brand name. I wanted to help you to set it up right so you have a clear vision to begin your journey. Here are some of the questions. Should I register my company name the same name as the brand name I'm trying to create? Should I use my personal name as my company name? What are the things need to be registered under the company name? What are the things need to be registered under the brand name? I'm going to answer all of these questions and more in the following presentation. You know I like to get to the point, so let's get to the point. Okay, let's get our business name and brand name set up right. Before I start, I just wanted to make a quick disclaimer that the information that I'm presenting to you, it is not intended for legal advice. With that in mind, let's take a look at your company. What needs to be set up under the company name? And what needs to be set up under each brand name? As you can see here, I laid this out beautifully for you using 3 niches as an example: kitchen, beauty, and baby niche. Under each niche, you may set up a different brand. So what needs to be set up under each brand name? For example, logo, trademark, the patent, should that be under the brand or under the company? I laid this out here like this so you have a visual understanding of the relationship between your company and each brand. Let's start from the very beginning, set up our company. For now, we're going to call this company O'Hare Holding LLC. I'm going to give you some specific tips on how to set up a generic company name. First, what need to be set up under the company name? Let me quickly go over the list. The EIN number, Employer Identification Number. This is issued by IRS. If you're a US-based company, you will need the EIN number to register your company as LLC and also to set up your business bank accounts, whether it's checking or saving, not your personal, but your business bank account. You will need to use this business bank account to send money to your supplier when you issue the purchase order to your supplier. The NNN agreement, non-disclosure, non-compete, non-circumvention need to be signed under your company name. For the domain name, does your company need a professional looking website with a registered domain? We're going to have to talk more on this after we explore how we're going to set up each brand, because maybe it is better to set up a domain name under the brand so when the customer visit your product, they already see that it's under the brand domain. We're going to talk more after we set up the brand. Seller name. This is your company name showing in Amazon product listing as the seller. So be mindful when you set up your company name, whether it's O'Hare Holding or ABC Holding or your own personal name holding, it's going to show as the seller under your product listing. Both of your brand and your company name is going to show. So that's why we wanted to be super clear how we wanted to set up our company name and how we wanted to set up each one of the brand name. So let's take a look at the brand name first. As you can see here, under your company name, you're trying to develop different product niche: kitchen, beauty, baby. Under each product niche, now you set up your brand. Brand is always driven by the product niche. The reason I wanted to lay it out this way, even though you might be just starting out with one brand, I want you to see the relationship between your company and your brands, because you may end up owning more than one brand. Or the initial idea of the kitchen niche didn't work out very well, you may have to switch gears and explore beauty or baby. For this reason, when you set up your company name, be super clear that this is the company you're going to own multiple brands. A lot of beginners, when they start the company, all they could think about is the niche or the product they're going to launch. So therefore, they create the company name strongly related to the product they're going to launch. Instead, they should set up the company as a generic company because this company could hold different brands. Let me give you some tips on how to set up a generic company name. This is a very quick tip for you to create a generic company name. On the back end, you can always add the word holding, the word tag, or the word industries behind the name. It will make it sound like very generic. ABC Holding, DEF Tag, XYZ Industries. On the front end, I wanted to share a quick tip. If you add the airport code or the airport name, not only it will make the whole name generic, now it's making it more mysterious or fun. Mysterious is you could be using an airport that you just love, but you have no relationship with that airport except you had a nice vacation, you just had a fond memory, or you use an airport that is in your city, you just love your city, so it is near and dear to you. You see what I mean? SFO Holding, LAX Industries, RNO Tech. These are just quick examples. You get the idea. I just wanted to share this quick tip with you. Now let's come back to our company name setup. The reason you're seeing the O'Hare Holding LLC here is because I just came back from a trip in Chicago. O'Hare is one of their airport name. So I just add O'Hare and add Holding to this LLC company name. Now let me answer the question, should I create my company name the same name as my brand name? Should I use my personal name as my company name? My thought is no. I would recommend we create a generic company name that could hold different brands, and also when we wanted to sell this company, instead of having my personal name as the company name and sell to a buyer that they have to change to something else, I would make it easier. A generic company directly transfer all the IP related. So that's my reason and my recommendation to create a generic company different from your brand name and is different from your own personal name. So let's talk about the brand name and how we're going to identify this brand. In order to set up the brand name, we already identified the product, and also we have an idea what are our brand identifications in terms of the target audience and the message we wanted to send to our customer. Each product brand is going to have a separate brand identifications and separate product lines. I'm not a branding expert, guys, but I wanted to use this structure to clearly identify what need to be set up under each specific brand. We now understand my company owns the brand. The company name doesn't have to be the same name as my brand. Now, what need to be set up under the brand then? For example, logo. When you first starting out, are you creating the logo for your company? Or are you creating the logo for your brand? The logo for your brand should express your brand identity to that target audience with your brand message. For this reason, I say when you start your company, you don't need your company logo. When you are ready to produce your product with the supplier, ready to produce your product, now you need a logo. Now this logo is more specific to the product, governed by this brand. This logo needs to express this brand identity. Now let's talk about the trademark. The trademark is the intellectual property owned by your company, but is specific to your brand. because it's speaking to your target audience with your brand message. When your ideal customer buying your product, they recognize this trademark, they recognize this logo. That is your brand identity. Can this trademark be used across different product niches like beauty or baby? Maybe you can consult with your trademark attorney, but I wouldn't recommend you to do that at all, because when you wanted to sell this brand, such as kitchen, the 𝐀𝐍𝐓 brand, you don't want your product under beauty and baby categories all branded under this trademark. So to make it easier for you to cash in when you wanted to sell this brand, I would recommend you to keep this trademark simple and clean to this brand only. Now let's talk about our brand website, or the brand domain versus the company domain. I said we're going to come back and revisit this, right? Since we wanted to set up our company name, O'Hare Holding, different from the brand name 𝐀𝐍𝐓 or YouFresh, how we're going to set up the company website or domain so we can properly communicate to both the suppliers and the customers. Here is my recommendation. If you are doing Amazon FBA, basically you are selling on Amazon and it's fulfilling your product by Amazon, I would say, especially at the beginning, you don't need a website for your product or for your company, but I would recommend you have a domain for your company so that you have a username set up under this company domain name. For example, instead of using david@gmail.com, now you're using david@o'hareholding.com. The reason I recommend you set up a domain for your company and set up a user account under this domain is because this user account is going to have some longevity to it. From the very beginning, you're using this username to communicate with your supplier. As you continue to develop a different brand or even eventually sell this brand, you are always using this username under this domain. For your brand, you don't need a website unless you are drop shipping. You need to have an individual retail store website. But if you're just doing Amazon FBA, Amazon website, your product listing, it is your website. But I would recommend you register a domain for your brand as well, because when you start to sell your product, you may need a user account register under this domain, for example, support@kslev.com, to communicate with your customer. So to be clear, the username registered under your company domain has a longevity to it. You use it from the beginning to the end, communicating with the suppliers, contact with all the legal entities, for example, your trademark attorney, set up your bank account, etc., etc. The user account set up under your brand name is eventually just for the purpose of supporting the customers. So for this purpose, you don't need a website, especially at the beginning, but I would recommend you have 2 sets of domains. Another benefit of having 2 sets of domains, one for your company, one for your brand, is when your brand starts to grow and mature, you may need to have an individual website for the brand and move some of the business from Amazon FBA to the store so you can own the customer base on your own, not dependent on Amazon FBA. I talk about it in that separate video, dropshipping versus Amazon FBA. So now once your brand starts to grow, you may own your own social media page and hiring marketing managers and VAs to continue promote this brand. So that's the benefit of keeping this domain separate from the very beginning and aiming to cash in on this brand. Eventually, you're going to maybe wanting to sell this brand. When you wanted to sell one particular brand, say the kitchen or the beauty, you get enough of growth coming out of the 2 brands you wanted to cash out, it's going to make it so much easier. So let's take a look. O'Hare Holding Company now wanted to sell this kitchen niche, and we also wanted to sell the beauty niche, and we wanted to keep the baby brand. Not only that, we're going to acquire another brand so that we have a complete product line offered in the baby niche. You see how easy it is when each brand name is set up separately. The idea is to have all the business and legal transaction take place under your company name. That's why when we set up our company, we think broad and long, and also set up the domain and username to think broad and long to carry through all these transactions from the beginning to the end. Is it helpful, my friend? If you love the video, share with someone who's just starting out. When we try to give help to people without any expectation for return, we increase our own positive influence. Thank you so much for your support. I hope one day, if you haven't already, become an insider, be part of my elite sourcing team. You're going to learn not only the professional sourcing knowledge and skills, but also the positivity and leadership. I wish you an amazing day. I'll see you in the next video.